Take a look at this. This is Albert Einstein getting his U.S. citizenship. On the day that Albert Einstein passed the final test to become an American citizen, he said, quote, "America will prove that democracy is not merely a form of government bound by a good constitution, but also a way of life supported by a people who have a good tradition, a tradition of moral strength. And the fate of the human race is more than ever dependent on its moral strength today." June 22nd, 1940, the United States had not yet entered World War II, but Britain and France had already declared war on Nazi Germany. When asked why Einstein had left Germany and settled in the United States, he said, quote, "As long as I have any choice, I will only stay in a country where political liberty, toleration, and equality of all citizens before the law is the rule," end quote. At the time, radio was the most important medium for households in the United States. It was the most efficient way for Americans to receive news and information. Many listened for 3 or 4 hours a day. So when President Franklin D. Roosevelt's administration wanted to start promoting tolerance toward immigrants, it turned to using radio broadcasts. The Immigration and Naturalization Service started a new weekly program called I'm an American, which featured interviews with distinguished naturalized citizens like Albert Einstein, who appeared on the program the day he passed his test. Listeners tuned in every Sunday to hear well-known names talk about their journey to becoming a citizen and the reasons why they found America to be so great. Now, some people considered it wartime propaganda, but at the end of the day, this was FDR's way of trying to convince a reluctant American population to accept immigrants and remind Americans of the value of citizenship. The radio show actually stemmed from I Am an American Day, which was the celebration of the rights and responsibilities of citizenship. Historians trace this observance back to 1938. It evolved over the years, and in 1952, Congress signed a resolution renaming it Citizenship Day, which is now observed on September 17th every year. Citizenship Day is a day to honor those who made the conscious choice to become an American citizen, to assert America's values as a nation built on immigrants. And this past week, I had the honor of delivering the keynote address at a naturalization ceremony at the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia on Citizenship Day. I stood as 48 people from 27 countries took the oath of citizenship, the same oath I had the privilege of taking 9 years ago when I became a U.S. citizen. It's a privilege that many take for granted, a privilege even I admittedly initially took for granted. But being in that room with all of those people, beaming with pride, reminded me once again of the rights, responsibilities, and esteem of being an American citizen. It's not easy to become a citizen of this country. The process takes a lot of time and effort. Many overcome much adversity to do so, often even escaping persecution, all for the hope of achieving the American dream. And the dream isn't necessarily always a lofty one. For many immigrants, the dream of simply finding a job, having a roof over their head, becoming part of a safe and secure community, enjoying the rights and freedoms afforded to Americans by our Constitution. The real American dream isn't what happens to the immigrant who becomes a citizen, but rather what happens to this country when immigrants choose to become citizens. America is a better, stronger nation because of the people who make that journey. The United States is a beacon of innovation, creativity, and ingenuity, and that is due in large part to our track record of welcoming the best and the brightest and the hardest working immigrants. Our universities are considered the best in the world. They attract the smartest people in the world. That includes countless young immigrants, and when they graduate, they are the brilliant minds that create companies and run businesses that employ Americans and advance our standing on the world stage. The strength of our economy depends on our immigrant population. Study after study finds that immigration fosters investment, drives up wages, and creates more jobs for all Americans. That's in part why we should be embracing immigration as a vital part of our economy's health. But so as not to make the immigration seem transactional. Immigrants, you belong here. Your existence in America and your contributions to our society are necessary to continue on as a healthy and prosperous nation. Citizenship Day is celebrated every year on September 17th. You may recognize that date. It's the day the United States Constitution was signed. And that's not a coincidence. Citizenship Day and Constitution Day are celebrated together, an appropriate pairing because the Constitution is the charter that established America as a new nation, a new democracy, one built by immigrants. What America needs more than anything right now from its immigrants is their courage. Because all Americans, whether natural born or naturalized, have the same obligation to keep our democracy strong. Being a citizen is one thing. It's a piece of paper and the right to vote. True citizenship is the muscle you use to sustain democracy and to make this country better than you found it. True citizenship is a muscle that weakens if you do not use it. And if that muscle weakens, there are people who will be willing to take advantage of that weakness.